Hello, and welcome back to Talk English Now. I'm Sarah, and today we're going to talk about how you can train yourself to use advanced English naturally in your everyday life. Not in a textbook way, but in a way that feels authentic, fluent, and confident. When we think about advanced English, many learners imagine big, complicated vocabulary or very formal grammar, but the truth is, advanced English is not about sounding complicated. It's about sounding natural. It's about using words, tone, rhythm, and structure in a way that matches real conversations. And that's exactly what we're going to practice together today. I want you to imagine that you and I are having a real conversation. I'm sitting with you, coaching you step by step, guiding you to listen, to repeat, and to build fluency as if we're speaking together in person. That's the style of today's lesson. So relax, listen carefully, and whenever I pause, try to shadow me. Repeat after me softly. This is your time to practice and to grow. Let's begin with something simple but powerful. Imagine someone asks you about your opinion. In beginner English, you might say, "I think it's good. This is correct, but it's very basic." In advanced English, we can make it sound smoother and more expressive. You could say, "I'd say it's pretty good overall." Or, "From my perspective, it works really well." Notice how the rhythm is longer, softer, and gives more color to your opinion. Now, try saying this with me. "I'd say it's pretty good overall." Good. Again, shadow me slowly. "From my perspective, it works really well." Excellent. These are the small upgrades that will make your English sound advanced. Here's another example. Instead of saying, "I don't know," you can say, "I'm not entirely sure, to be honest." Or, "That's a good question. I'll have to think about it." Do you feel how much more natural and thoughtful these sound? Advanced English is often about giving yourself space, adding rhythm, and connecting with the person you're speaking to. So, let's practice this together. Repeat after me. "I'm not entirely sure, to be honest." Great. And now, "That's a good question. I'll have to think about it." Excellent. You see, you're already moving beyond the basics. The key to speaking advanced English is not memorizing long lists of difficult words. It's learning how to expand simple sentences. It's learning how to soften your tone, how to add variety, and how to express yourself with a little more style. And that's what we're going to do throughout this lesson. Now let's try to imagine a small conversation. You walk into a coffee shop and someone says, "How's your day going so far?" A beginner answer might be, "It's good." But in advanced English, you could say, "It's been pretty good so far, thanks for asking. How about you?" Or, "Not too bad. It's been a little busy, but I can't complain." Do you notice the difference? Advanced English sounds more natural because it adds details, it adds a little personality. So let's shadow this together. Repeat after me. "It's been pretty good so far, thanks for asking. How about you?" Excellent. Now, one more time. "Not too bad. It's been a little busy, but I can't complain." Good. You're doing great so far. Remember, The goal here is not to memorize. It's to get used to the rhythm of natural English, to let the sentences flow through you. Here's another upgrade. Instead of saying, "I like it," which is very simple, you could say, "I'm really into it," or "It's right up my alley." This last one is an idiomatic expression, and idioms are one of the best ways to sound advanced and natural in English. So let's practice that together. Repeat after me. I'm really into it. Good. And now, it's right up my alley. Perfect. As you practice these expressions, I want you to also notice the intonation, the rise and fall of the voice, because advanced English is not only about words, it's about music. When you speak with natural rhythm, people understand you better and they feel connected to you. Now let's do a little listening and shadowing practice. I'll say a few sentences, and I want you to repeat them after me. Ready? I've been meaning to try that for a while now. Honestly, I couldn't agree more with you on that. That sounds like a great idea. Let's go for it. Excellent. Keep repeating these softly to yourself, and let them become part of your natural speaking style. We'll continue building more examples, more conversations, and more natural rhythm as we move forward. But for now, take a breath, and let's keep going together step by step. Now let's think about conversations where you want to sound polite, but also advanced. Imagine you're in a meeting at work, or maybe you're discussing something important with a friend. In beginner English, you might say something like, "I don't agree." But that can sound a little strong, a little direct. In advanced English, we can soften the tone and make it sound more natural. For example, "I see where you're coming from, but I think I'd look at it a little differently." Or, "That's an interesting point, though I'd have to respectfully disagree." Do you notice how these expressions keep the conversation friendly while still making your opinion clear? This is exactly the type of language that advanced speakers use. It's not just about grammar, it's about building connections and keeping conversations smooth. So let's practice these together. Repeat after me. I see where you're coming from. But I think I'd look at it a little differently. Excellent. And again, that's an interesting point, though I'd have to respectfully disagree. Very good. Now, let's imagine you're asked to explain something in more detail. Instead of saying, "I don't know," or "I can't explain," you can give a more advanced response. You might say, "It's a bit tricky to put into words, but let me try." Or, "It's hard to explain, but here's how I see it." This kind of language shows confidence even when you're not completely sure. Try shadowing me now. "It's a bit tricky to put into words, but let me try." Good. And once more. "It's hard to explain, but here's how I see it." Excellent. Another area where advanced English really shines is in transitions. Transitions are small phrases that help you connect your thoughts. Instead of jumping from one idea to another suddenly, advanced speakers use connectors. For example, instead of saying, "I finished my work, I went home," you could say, "After finishing up my work, I headed home," or "Once I wrapped things up at the office, I made my way back home." You hear how much smoother that sounds? It feels natural, like a flowing conversation instead of short, broken sentences. Let's practice this together. Repeat after me. After finishing up my work, I headed home. And now, once I wrapped things up at the office, I made my way back home. Great. These are the small upgrades that make your English advanced without sounding forced. Now let's add another layer, showing emotions and attitudes in English. For example, instead of saying, "I'm happy," you can say, "I'm absolutely thrilled about it." Or, "I couldn't be happier." Instead of saying, "I'm sad," you might say, "I'm feeling a little down today." Or, "I've been in low spirits lately." Notice how advanced English uses more colorful, expressive words. Let's practice a few together. Repeat after me. I'm absolutely thrilled about it. Good. I couldn't be happier. Great. I'm feeling a little down today. And I've been in low spirits lately. Wonderful. One of the best ways to train your advanced English is to use shadowing in longer natural phrases. So let's try a little listening practice now. I'll say a few sentences, and I want you to repeat after me. Over the past few weeks, I've noticed a real improvement in my focus. To be completely honest, I wasn't expecting it to turn out that way. If you ask me, the best way to handle this is to keep things simple. Excellent. Keep repeating these until they start to feel natural in your mouth. Now let's shift to conversations where you need to politely refuse something. A beginner answer might be, "No, I can't." But in advanced English, we can make it softer and kinder. You could say, "I'd love to, but unfortunately I won't be able to this time." Or, "That's really kind of you, but I'll have to pass today." Repeat these with me. I'd love to, but unfortunately I won't be able to this time. Good. Now, that's really kind of you, but I'll have to pass today. Perfect. Notice how these sentences keep the tone positive even though you're saying no. This is one of the most important skills in advanced English, communicating clearly, but also kindly. Now imagine you're trying to add more details when you speak. Instead of saying, "I like reading," you could say, "I really enjoy reading, especially when I can do it in a quiet place with a cup of tea." Instead of saying, "I went shopping," you could say, "I ended up going shopping downtown, and I found some great deals." These are the types of sentences you hear in real English conversations, and they're not difficult. You're just stretching a little more, adding detail, adding rhythm. Let's shadow this together. I really enjoy reading, especially when I can do it in a quiet place with a cup of tea. Wonderful. And now, I ended up going shopping downtown, and I found some great deals. Excellent. As you can see, advanced English doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's simply about practicing small, natural expansions, adding just a few words that give color and rhythm to your sentences. We'll keep building more examples and mini conversations as we move along. But remember, don't just listen passively. Speak with me. Shadow me. Let the sentences flow into your voice and make them yours. Let's move now into a very important part of advanced English: how to agree and disagree naturally in conversations. In basic English, you might just say, "Yes, I agree," or "No, I don't agree." But in real life, advanced speakers have many softer, more expressive ways to handle this. For example, instead of saying only, "Yes, I agree," you could say, "Absolutely, I couldn't agree more." Or, "That's exactly how I feel too." These give more weight and warmth to your agreement, so let's shadow them together. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Good. That's exactly how I feel too. Excellent. Now, if you want to disagree but still keep things polite, you might say, "I see what you mean, but I look at it a bit differently." Or, "That's an interesting perspective, though I'd have to say I don't quite share the same view." Notice how both of these phrases show respect to the other person before introducing your own idea. Let's practice that together. Repeat after me. I see what you mean, but I look at it a bit differently. Good. And now, that's an interesting perspective, though I'd have to say I don't quite share the same view. Excellent. Advanced English is about creating balance, being clear, but also being respectful and natural. And the more you practice these phrases, the more confident you'll feel in real conversations. Now, let's think about casual conversations with friends. Instead of just answering with short words, advanced English adds more flavor. Imagine your friend says, "Do you want to come with us?" Instead of saying, "Yes," you might say, "Sure, I'd love to join." Or, "That sounds great. Count me in." Let's shadow this. "Sure, I'd love to join." Good. "That sounds great. Count me in." Excellent. And if you want to say no, you don't just say, "No, I can't." In advanced English, you soften it. You could say, "I'd love to, but I've already got plans." Or, "That sounds fun, but I'm not going to be able to make it this time." Repeat after me. I'd love to, but I've already got plans. Wonderful. And now, that sounds fun, but I'm not going to be able to make it this time. Perfect. Let's also explore advanced ways to show interest in what someone is saying. Instead of just saying, "Really?" or "That's good," you can say, "That's fascinating. Tell me more about it." Or, "Wow, that must have been quite an experience. Practice with me. That's fascinating. Tell me more about it." And, "Wow, that must have been quite an experience." When you use phrases like these, people feel encouraged to continue speaking with you. And that's one of the secrets of advanced English. It's not just about grammar, it's about building conversations that feel natural and alive. Now, let's practice with a mini dialogue. Imagine I say, "I just got back from a trip to Italy." As a beginner, you might respond with, "That's good." But let's make it advanced. You could say, "That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to go there. How was it?" Let's shadow that together. "That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to go there. How was it?" Good. And if the person says, "It was beautiful. The food was incredible," you could respond, "I can imagine. I've heard the food in Italy is out of this world." Repeat after me. I can imagine. I've heard the food in Italy is out of this world. Excellent. Notice how this feels like a real conversation. You're not just answering with one word. You're building connections, adding emotion, and showing interest. Let's do another mini dialogue. Imagine I say, I had such a busy week at work. As a beginner, you might answer, me too. But in advanced English, you could say, I know what you mean. My week was packed as well. What kept you so busy? Now shadow me. I know what you mean. My week was packed as well. What kept you so busy? Wonderful. And if the other person says, I had back-to-back meetings, you could respond, that sounds exhausting. I hope you get some rest this weekend. Repeat after me. That sounds exhausting. I hope you get some rest this weekend. Perfect. This is how advanced English feels in daily life. It's not just about longer sentences, but about showing empathy, interest, and natural rhythm. Now let's practice another set of shadowing phrases together. Repeat after me slowly and feel the rhythm. I've been meaning to bring that up with you. Honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. At the end of the day, what matters most is that we gave it our best shot. Very good. Keep practicing those and let them flow naturally. If you're enjoying this lesson, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more daily English practice. It really helps us continue making these lessons for you. And I'd love for you to join me here every day for more guided speaking practice. Now, let's keep going. Let's continue by looking at how advanced English uses small phrases to create a sense of flow in conversation. These are sometimes called discourse markers. They don't carry heavy meaning, but they make your speech sound natural and connected. For example, instead of starting a sentence directly, you might say, well, to be honest, or, the thing is, or, actually, now that I think about it. These little starters give you a moment to think, and they make your English sound more natural, more advanced. Let's practice them together. Repeat after me. Well, to be honest. Good. The thing is. Great. Actually, now that I think about it. Excellent. Now imagine you're telling a story. In basic English, you might say, I was late. The bus didn't come. I walked. Very short, very simple. But in advanced English, you would connect these ideas. You might say, I ended up being late because the bus never showed up, so I decided to walk instead. Let's shadow that together. I ended up being late because the bus never showed up, so I decided to walk instead. Good. Here's another one. Instead of saying, I was tired, I slept, you could say, I was so exhausted that I crashed as soon as I got home. Repeat after me. I was so exhausted that I crashed as soon as I got home. Excellent. Advanced English isn't about longer words. It's about connecting ideas and creating flow. Now let's practice how to show surprise in advanced English. Instead of just saying, really? You could say, are you serious? That's unbelievable. Or, no way. That must have been incredible. Let's try this together. Are you serious? That's unbelievable. Good. No way. That must have been incredible. Excellent. When you add emotion like this, your conversations feel alive and more expressive. Let's do a short mini dialogue again. Imagine I say, I just got a new job offer. A basic answer might be, that's good. But in advanced English, you could say, congratulations, that's such exciting news. Tell me more about it. Now shadow me. Congratulations, that's such exciting news. Tell me more about it. Wonderful. And if the person says, it's for a company I've always wanted to work for, you might respond, that's fantastic. I'm really happy for you. When do you start? Repeat after me. That's fantastic. I'm really happy for you. When do you start? Excellent. This kind of response shows support and keeps the conversation flowing. That's what makes it advanced. Now, let's explore another way to upgrade your English, using descriptive language. Instead of saying, the food was good, you can say, the food was absolutely delicious, full of rich flavors. Instead of saying, the movie was bad, you could say, the movie was a bit disappointing. I was expecting more. Let's shadow these together. The food was absolutely delicious, full of rich flavors. Good. The movie was a bit disappointing. I was expecting more. Excellent. Notice how just a few extra words make your English more advanced and expressive. Now, let's practice some advanced responses to common questions. If someone asks, "How are you?" instead of only saying, "I'm fine," you could say, "I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking. How about you?" Or, "I've been keeping busy, but overall I'm doing well." Let's shadow this. "I'm doing pretty well, thanks for asking. How about you?" And now, "I've been keeping busy, but overall I'm doing well." Great. Now imagine someone asks, "What do you do for fun?" Instead of a short reply like, "I watch movies," you could say, "I really enjoy watching movies, especially thrillers, because they keep me on the edge of my seat." Repeat after me. "I really enjoy watching movies, especially thrillers, because they keep me on the edge of my seat." Excellent. Or you could say, "I love going for walks in the park. It helps me clear my mind and stay active." Shadow that with me. "I love going for walks in the park. It helps me clear my mind and stay active." Wonderful. This is what advanced English looks like, adding just a little more description, emotion, and rhythm. Let's do another shadowing practice. Repeat each sentence after me slowly. "To be honest, I wasn't expecting that outcome at all. I've been looking forward to this for such a long time. That reminds me of something similar that happened to me last year." Excellent. Keep repeating those and let them sink in. Now let's practice how to politely interrupt someone in advanced English. Instead of saying, "Stop," or "Wait," you could say, "Sorry to interrupt, but may I add something here?" Or, "If I could just jump in for a second, I'd like to share a thought." Let's shadow this. "Sorry to interrupt, but may I add something here?" Good. "If I could just jump in for a second, I'd like to share a thought." Excellent. You see how polite and smooth that sounds? This is the kind of English that makes you sound confident and respectful at the same time. We'll keep going with more practice, but for now, just notice how each upgrade adds richness, connection, and fluency to your English. This is what will carry you from basic to advanced speaking. Let's take a moment to focus on how advanced English uses storytelling to connect ideas. Storytelling is one of the most powerful ways to practice fluency because it forces you to link sentences, use transitions, and keep the listener engaged. For example, if you want to tell someone about your weekend in basic English, you might say, "I went to the park. I read a book. I went home. That is clear, but it feels very simple and disconnected. In advanced English, you could say, over the weekend, I spent some time at the park where I relaxed with a book, and afterward I made my way home feeling refreshed. Let's shadow that together. Over the weekend, I spent some time at the park where I relaxed with a book, and afterward I made my way home feeling refreshed. Very good. Now imagine you want to talk about an experience at a restaurant. In simple English, you might say, I ate pizza. It was good. I liked it. But in advanced English, you could say, I tried a pizza at a new restaurant downtown, and it turned out to be absolutely delicious. I really enjoyed every bite. Shadow this with me. I tried a pizza at a new restaurant downtown, and it turned out to be absolutely delicious. I really enjoyed every bite. Excellent. This style of speaking gives your listener a clearer picture, and it makes your English sound natural and fluent. Now let's practice using advanced connectors, words like meanwhile, as a result, in the meantime, and on top of that. These connectors help your ideas flow more smoothly. For example, instead of saying, I cooked dinner, I watched TV, you could say, I cooked dinner, and in the meantime, I had the TV playing in the background. Repeat after me. I cooked dinner, and in the meantime, I had the TV playing in the background. Good. Or, instead of saying, it rained, I stayed home, you could say, it started raining, so as a result, I decided to just stay home and relax. Shadow this. It started raining, so as a result, I decided to just stay home and relax. Excellent. Now let's add some advanced expressions for showing agreement and connection. Instead of just saying, me too, you could say, I can totally relate to that, or, that's exactly how I feel as well. Practice with me. I can totally relate to that. Good. That's exactly how I feel as well. Excellent. And if you want to show that you understand someone's problem, instead of just saying, I understand, you might say, I get where you're coming from, or, I can see why you'd feel that way. Repeat after me. I get where you're coming from. Now, I can see why you'd feel that way. Perfect. Now let's move into practicing advanced ways of giving advice. In simple English, you might say, you should study more. But in advanced English, you could say, if I were you, I'd set aside a little time each day to review. Or, one thing that might really help is practicing with a partner. Let's shadow that together. If I were you, I'd set aside a little time each day to review. And now, one thing that might really help is practicing with a partner. Advanced advice is not about being direct. It's about being gentle, supportive, and clear. Let's do a mini dialogue to practice. Imagine I say, I keep forgetting new vocabulary. A basic answer might be, study harder, but an advanced response would be, I know it can be tough. Maybe try writing new words in a journal so you can review them later. Shadow this with me. I know it can be tough. Maybe try writing new words in a journal so you can review them later. Wonderful. And if the person says, that sounds like a good idea, you could add, yes, it's something I've found really useful myself. Repeat after me. Yes, it's something I've found really useful myself. Excellent. Now let's practice a few shadowing sentences to stretch your fluency. Repeat after me slowly. To be fair, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. The funny thing is, I almost forgot about it until now. At this point, I think the best thing to do is to keep moving forward. Very good. These sentences are longer, but they flow naturally, and that's what you want to develop, the rhythm of natural English. Now let's practice how to politely ask for clarification in advanced English. Instead of saying, "What?" or "Say again," you could say, "Sorry, could you clarify what you mean by that?" Or, "Just to be sure I understood, are you saying that?" Let's shadow these. Sorry, could you clarify what you mean by that? Good. Just to be sure I understood, are you saying that? Excellent. These are very natural phrases that advanced speakers use all the time, and they will make your conversations feel smooth and professional. As you keep practicing, remind yourself that speaking advanced English doesn't mean being perfect. It means being confident enough to expand, connect, and express yourself naturally. The more you shadow these examples, the more your voice and rhythm will match real English speakers. And step by step, you'll notice your fluency improving every day. Let's now practice advanced English for situations where you need to express uncertainty. In simple English, you might say, "I don't know," or "I'm not sure." Those are fine, but in advanced English, you can sound more natural and thoughtful. For example, you could say, "I'm not entirely certain, but I can look into it." Or, "That's a tough one. I'll need to give it some thought." Let's shadow that together. "I'm not entirely certain, but I can look into it." Good. That's a tough one. I'll need to give it some thought. Excellent. These kinds of responses show that even when you don't have an answer, you're engaged and willing to continue the conversation. Now imagine you're trying to show excitement. Instead of saying only, "I'm happy," you could say, "I'm absolutely delighted about it," or "I'm over the moon." These expressions add energy and style to your English. Practice with me. "I'm absolutely delighted about it." Great. "I'm over the moon." Excellent. And if you want to sound a bit calmer, you could say, "I'm really pleased with how it turned out." Repeat after me. "I'm really pleased with how it turned out." Now let's think about how advanced English speakers handle everyday questions politely. Imagine someone asks you, "Could you help me with this?" Instead of just answering, "Yes," you could say, "Of course, I'd be happy to help," or, "Sure, let me see what I can do for you." Shadow this. "Of course, I'd be happy to help." Now, "Sure, let me see what I can do for you." And if you want to politely say no, instead of just saying no, you could say, "I'd love to help, but unfortunately I'm tied up right now." Or, "That sounds important, but I won't be able to do it at the moment." Repeat after me. "I'd love to help, but unfortunately I'm tied up right now." Good. "That sounds important, but I won't be able to do it at the moment." Excellent. This is how advanced English gives you balance, kindness, and clarity at the same time. Now let's practice how to ask questions in a more advanced way. Instead of saying, "What do you mean?" you could say, "Could you explain what you mean a little more?" Instead of saying, "Why?" you might say, "I'm curious. What made you decide that?" Shadow me. Could you explain what you mean a little more? Now, I'm curious. What made you decide that? Excellent. These phrases not only make you sound more natural, they also invite the other person to share more, and that's how you build deeper conversations. Let's also practice showy, ng appreciation in advanced English. Instead of saying, "Thank you," you can say, "I really appreciate it," or "That means a lot to me," or "Thanks so much, I owe you one." Repeat after me. "I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. Thanks so much, I owe you one." Wonderful. Now, let's do a short shadowing exercise with slightly longer sentences. Repeat after me slowly and clearly. At the end of the day, what matters most is that we gave it our best effort. To be perfectly honest, I didn't think it would turn out that way. From my perspective, the best option would be to keep things simple. Excellent. Take a breath and let those flow naturally. Now let's look at how advanced English handles giving opinions. Instead of just saying, "I think," you could say, "I'd say," or "in my opinion," or "from what I can tell." Shadow this. "I'd say it's definitely worth trying. In my opinion, it could really make a difference. From what I can tell, it's working quite well." These small changes give your sentences a smoother rhythm and a more confident sound. Now, let's practice sounding polite when making requests. In simple English, you might say, "Give me that," or "Open the window." But in advanced English, you'd soften it. You could say, "Would you mind passing that to me?" Or, "Could you open the window, please?" Shadow these. "Would you mind passing that to me? Could you open the window, please?" And if you want to sound extra polite, you can say, "I'd really appreciate it if you could help me with this." Repeat after me. "I'd really appreciate it if you could help me with this." You see, advanced English is not about being formal all the time. It's about sounding natural, respectful, and confident. Let's close this section with a few more advanced practice lines for you to shadow. Honestly, I didn't expect that outcome at all, but it makes sense now. I've been trying to get better at this little by little each day. The thing I like most about it is how easy it feels once you get started. Very good. Keep repeating these phrases, and you'll notice how your English begins to flow with a natural rhythm. Now let's practice how advanced English speakers handle everyday small talk. Small talk might seem simple, but it's actually a great place to show fluency and natural rhythm. For example, if someone says, "Nice weather today," instead of just replying, "Yes," you could say, "It really is, isn't it? I love days like this." Repeat after me. "It really is, isn't it? I love days like this." Good. Or you could say, "Absolutely. It feels so refreshing after the rain we had." Shadow this. "Absolutely. It feels so refreshing after the rain we had." Excellent. These small additions make your English sound warmer and more advanced. Now let's imagine you meet someone new. In simple English, you might say, "Where are you from?" and "I'm from here." But in advanced English, you can add a little more curiosity and connection. You could ask, "So, where do you call home originally?" Or, "Have you always lived around here? Or did you move recently?" Repeat with me. So, where do you call home originally? Have you always lived around here? Or did you move recently? And instead of replying with just, "I'm from New York," you might say, "I'm originally from New York, but I've been living here for the past 5 years." Shadow this. I'm originally from New York, but I've been living here for the past 5 years. Excellent. This style of speaking gives the listener more to connect with, and it keeps the conversation alive. Now let's practice advanced ways of reacting to news. If someone says, "I passed my exam," instead of only saying, "Good job," you might say, "That's fantastic, congratulations, I knew you could do it." Repeat after me. "That's fantastic, congratulations, I knew you could do it." Or if someone says, "I lost my keys," instead of just saying, "Oh no," you could say, "That must be frustrating, I hope you're able to find them soon." Shadow this. "That must be frustrating. I hope you're able to find them soon." Notice how these reactions add empathy and make the conversation richer. Now let's practice some advanced idioms. Idioms are a big part of sounding natural in English. For example, instead of saying, "I'm very busy," you can say, "I've got a lot on my plate right now." Repeat with me. "I've got a lot on my plate right now." Good. Instead of saying, "It's easy," you might say, "It's a piece of cake." Shadow this. It's a piece of cake. Excellent. And instead of saying, "It's not possible," you might say, "That's a long shot." Repeat after me. "That's a long shot." Very good. Idioms like these are simple but powerful. They make you sound more like a native speaker. Now let's do a mini dialogue with idioms. Imagine I say, "I've been working a lot lately." You could answer, "I can tell. You've really got a lot on your plate." Repeat after me. "I can tell. You've really got a lot on your plate." Or imagine I say, "The exam was easy." You might reply, "So it was a piece of cake for you, huh?" Shadow this. "So it was a piece of cake for you, huh?" Excellent. Using idioms naturally takes practice, but little by little they'll become part of your daily speech. Now let's focus on advanced connectors for contrast. Instead of saying, "I like it, my friend doesn't," you could say, "I really enjoyed it, whereas my friend didn't like it at all." Repeat with me. "I really enjoyed it, whereas my friend didn't like it at all." Good. Or you might say, "I found it helpful, but on the other hand, some people didn't." Shadow this. "I found it helpful, but on the other hand, some people didn't." These little connectors make your English sound polished and professional. Now let's practice some longer sentences to build rhythm. Repeat after me slowly and clearly. "To be honest, I was a little nervous at first, but everything worked out better than I expected. The truth is, I wasn't sure I could handle it, yet somehow I managed to get through it." At first it seemed overwhelming, but little by little it became easier. Excellent. You see how practicing longer sentences helps you keep your fluency smooth? Now let's practice politeness in advanced English. Instead of saying, "Give me that," you might say, "Would you mind handing that over to me?" Repeat after me. Would you mind handing that over to me? Or instead of saying, "Tell me," you could say, "Could you tell me a little more about that, if you don't mind?" Shadow this. Could you tell me a little more about that, if you don't mind? Politeness doesn't mean being too formal. It means showing respect and making the other person comfortable. And that's what advanced speakers do naturally. As you keep practicing with me, you'll notice your English feeling less like memorized sentences and more like real conversation. And that's the goal. Building confidence through a natural rhythm and flow. Now let's look at how advanced English can help you when you want to give compliments. In basic English, you might say, "You're nice," or "Good job." But in advanced English, we can add warmth and depth. For example, you could say, "You did a wonderful job on that project. I can tell you put in a lot of effort." Repeat after me. "You did a wonderful job on that project. I can tell you put in a lot of effort." Good. Or instead of saying, "You look good," you could say, "You look fantastic today. That color really suits you." Shadow this. "You look fantastic today. That color really suits you." Excellent. And if you want to compliment someone's personality, instead of just saying, "You're nice," you could say, "You have such a positive energy. It's always uplifting to be around you." Repeat with me. You have such a positive energy. It's always uplifting to be around you. Compliments like these sound advanced because they are more specific, more natural, and more personal. Now, let's practice how to apologize in advanced English. Instead of just saying, "Sorry," you might say, "I'm really sorry about that. It wasn't my intention." Or, "I apologize for the confusion. Let me clear it up." Shadow these with me. "I'm really sorry about that. It wasn't my intention." "I apologize for the confusion. Let me clear it up." And if you want to sound especially thoughtful, you could say, "I feel bad about how that turned out, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." Repeat after me. "I feel bad about how that turned out, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." Notice how these phrases make your apology feel sincere and professional. Now let's shift to practicing how to show enthusiasm when you agree with someone. Instead of only saying, "Yes," you could say, "Absolutely, I couldn't agree more," or, "Exactly, that's just what I was thinking." Shadow this. "Absolutely, I couldn't agree more." "Exactly, that's just what I was thinking." And if you want to add even more emphasis, you could say, "Yes, 100%, I'm right there with you." Repeat after me. "Yes, 100%, I'm right there with you." Wonderful. Now let's do some mini dialogues for practice. Imagine I say, "I really enjoyed the presentation." You could respond, "Same here. I thought it was very engaging and well put together." Shadow this. "Same here. I thought it was very engaging and well put together." Or imagine I say, "This project has been stressful." You might say, "I can understand that. It sounds like you've been under a lot of pressure." Repeat with me. "I can understand that. It sounds like you've been under a lot of pressure." This type of response shows empathy, and that's one of the marks of advanced English. Now let's practice some common advanced phrases for everyday use. Repeat after me slowly. At this point, I think we need to look at it from a different angle. The thing I appreciate most about this is how practical it feels. If you ask me, the timing couldn't have been better. Excellent. Keep repeating those until they feel natural in your voice. Now let's practice advanced English for expressing opinions in a stronger way. Instead of just saying, "It's good," you might say, "It's absolutely fantastic, one of the best I've seen," or, "It's quite impressive, I didn't expect it to be that good." Shadow this. "It's absolutely fantastic, one of the best I've seen." "It's quite impressive, I didn't expect it to be that good." And if you want and to express a negative opinion without being rude, instead of saying "it's bad," you might say, "It didn't really meet my expectations." Or, "To be honest, I found it a little underwhelming." Repeat after me. It didn't really meet my expectations. To be honest, I found it a little underwhelming. See how these phrases soften your opinion, but still sound advanced and honest? Now let's imagine you're telling someone about your plans. Instead of saying, "I'll go tomorrow," you might say, "I'm planning to head there tomorrow if everything goes as expected." Repeat with me. "I'm planning to head there tomorrow if everything goes as expected." Or instead of saying, "I'll call you," you could say, "I'll give you a call later on so we can go over the details." Shadow this. "I'll give you a call later on so we can go over the details." Adding these small details makes your speech sound more natural and connected. Let's close this section with a few more advanced shadowing lines. Honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better outcome. The strange thing is, it turned out better than I imagined. What really stood out to me was how much effort went into it. Very good. As you keep practicing, these phrases will begin to feel automatic, and you'll notice your English sounding more advanced every day. Let's now practice how advanced English speakers handle conversations about the future. In simple English, you might say, "I will study," or "I will travel." Those are fine, but in advanced English, we often use softer and more natural structures. For example, you could say, "I'm planning to study later this evening," or "I'm hoping to travel sometime next year." Repeat after me. "I'm planning to study later this evening." Good. "I'm hoping to travel sometime next year." Excellent. Another way to sound advanced is to use phrases like, "I'm thinking about," or "I'm considering." Instead of saying, "I will buy a car," you might say, "I'm considering buying a car soon. It would make things easier." Shadow this with me. "I'm considering buying a car soon. It would make things easier." Now let's move to advanced English for expressing possibilities. Instead of saying, "Maybe I'll go," you could say, "There's a good chance I might go," or "It's quite possible I'll be there." Repeat after me. "There's a good chance I might go." "It's quite possible I'll be there." And if you're not sure, you might say, "It's still up in the air right now, but I'll let you know." Shadow this. "It's still up in the air right now, but I'll let you know." Excellent. Now let's practice advanced English for sharing past experiences. Instead of saying, "I went there," you might say, I had the chance to visit last year, and it was unforgettable. Repeat after me. I had the chance to visit last year, and it was unforgettable. Or instead of saying, I ate pizza, you could say, I ended up trying the pizza there, and it was honestly the best I've ever had. Shadow this with me. I ended up trying the pizza there, and it was honestly the best I've ever had. When you add little phrases like, I had the chance to, or I ended up, your English sounds instantly more advanced. Now let's practice how to express curiosity instead of asking only, why? You could say, I'm curious. What made you choose that? Instead of saying, how? You might ask, I'd love to know. How did you make that work? Repeat after me. I'm curious. What made you choose that? I'd love to know. How did you make that work? These types of questions make you sound more engaging, and people will enjoy speaking with you more. Now imagine you're in a casual conversation. Someone says, I'm learning to play the guitar. In basic English, you might just reply, that's good. But in advanced English, you could say, that's awesome. I've always admired people who can play an instrument. How's it going so far? Shadow this. That's awesome. I've always admired people who can play an instrument. How's it going so far? And if they say, it's a bit difficult, you could reply, I can imagine it must take a lot of practice, but I'm sure you'll get better with time. Repeat after me. I can imagine it must take a lot of practice, but I'm sure you'll get better with time. This is how advanced English helps you keep a conversation flowing instead of stopping at short answers. Now let's work on phrases that show reflection and thought. Instead of saying, I think, all the time, you could say, when I think about it, or come to think of it, or now that I reflect on it. Shadow this. When I think about it, I probably should have started earlier. Come to think of it, I did see him yesterday. Now that I reflect on it, it all makes more sense. These are very natural ways to expand your speaking style. Now, let's try some longer shadowing practice. Repeat after me slowly and carefully. To be completely honest, I wasn't expecting things to turn out the way they did, but in the end, it worked out for the best. I've been meaning to tell you how much I appreciated your help. It really made a difference for me. The more I think about it, the more I realize how important it is to practice a little every single day. Excellent. Take a moment and repeat those again if you need to. Long sentences like these build fluency and confidence. Now let's explore advanced English for expressing hopes and wishes. Instead of saying, I want to travel, you could say, I'd love to be able to travel more in the future, or, it's always been a dream of mine to see the world. Repeat after me. I'd love to be able to travel more in the future. It's always been a dream of mine to see the world. And if you want to express regret, instead of saying, I didn't study, you might say, I really wish I had studied harder, or, if only I had prepared a little more. Shadow this. I really wish I had studied harder. If only I had prepared a little more. These are natural phrases that advanced speakers use when sharing their feelings about the past. As you can see, advanced English is not about memorizing complicated grammar. It's about layering your sentences with natural connectors, emotions, and expressions that reflect real conversation. The more you shadow these examples with me, the more automatic they will become for you. Now let's look at advanced English for giving explanations. In basic English, you might say, because I was late, or because I was tired. These are fine, but advanced English often adds softer, more flowing structures. For example, you could say, the reason I was late was that traffic was heavier than usual, or I ended up staying home because I was feeling a little under the weather. Repeat after me. The reason I was late was that traffic was heavier than usual. Good. I ended up staying home because I was feeling a little under the weather. Excellent. Notice how these sentences give more detail and create a smoother rhythm. Now let's practice advanced English for making suggestions. In simple English, you might say, let's go, or do this. But in advanced English, you could say, why don't we give that a try? Or maybe we could look at it from another perspective. Shadow this. Why don't we give that a try? Maybe we could look at it from another perspective. And if you want to sound even more collaborative, you could say, how about we work on it together and see what we come up with? Repeat after me. How about we work on it together and see what we come up with? This way of speaking feels friendly and advanced because it opens the door to teamwork. Now let's practice advanced phrases for handling difficult situations. Instead of saying, I'm angry, you could say, I'm really frustrated with how this turned out. Or, I'm upset about the way things happened. Shadow this. I'm really frustrated with how this turned out. I'm upset about the way things happened. And if you want to calm a conversation, instead of saying, don't worry, you might say, I understand your concern. Let's try to figure this out together. Or, it's okay. We'll work through this step by step. Repeat after me. I understand your concern. Let's try to figure this out together. It's okay. We'll work through this step by step. These phrases sound supportive and professional, which is a big part of advanced English. Now let's move to advanced ways of describing experiences. Instead of saying, it was fun, you might say, it was such an enjoyable experience. I had a great time. Or, it turned out to be one of the most memorable days I've had in a while. Repeat with me. It was such an enjoyable experience. I had a great time. It turned out to be one of the most memorable days I've had in a while. When you add detail and feeling like this, your English becomes more expressive and engaging. Now imagine you want to describe a challenge. Instead of saying, it was hard, you could say, it was quite challenging, but I managed to push through. Or, it wasn't easy, but I learned a lot from it. Shadow this. It was quite challenging, but I managed to push through. It wasn't easy, but I learned a lot from it. These sentences not only describe what happened, but also show your growth. That's advanced English. Now let's do a mini dialogue. Imagine I say, I finally finished my assignment. In beginner English, you might answer, good job. But in advanced English, you could say, "That's great news. You must feel so relieved to have it done." Repeat after me. That's great news. You must feel so relieved to have it done. And if I say, yes, it took a long time, you could reply, I can imagine. It must have been a lot of work, but you got through it. Shadow this. I can imagine. It must have been a lot of work, but you got through it. This type of response builds empathy, which is key in advanced communication. Now let's practice advanced English for time expressions. Instead of saying, I'll do it later, you could say, I'll get around to it a bit later today. Instead of saying, I'll do it soon, you might say, I'll take care of it in the net. Our future. Repeat with me. I'll get around to it a bit later today. I'll take care of it in the near future. And if you want to show urgency, you could say, I'll handle it right away so it doesn't get delayed. Shadow this. I'll handle it right away so it doesn't get delayed. These small changes sound advanced because they show subtle control of time expressions. Let's close this section with a few more shadowing sentences. Repeat slowly after me. From my perspective, the most important thing is staying consistent. The funny thing is, it actually worked out better than we expected. At the end of the day, I'm just glad we gave it a shot. Excellent. Keep repeating these until they feel comfortable and natural for you. Let's practice advanced English for showing interest in someone's story. In simple English, you might just say, okay, or that's good. But in advanced English, you can keep the conversation alive with phrases like, that sounds really interesting. What happened next? Or, wow, I'd love to hear more about that. Repeat after me. That sounds really interesting. What happened next? Good. Wow, I'd love to hear more about that. Excellent. These types of responses encourage people to continue speaking, and they make you sound like a great conversational partner. Now let's practice advanced English for everyday routines. Instead of saying, I wake up, I eat breakfast, I go to work, you could say, I usually wake up around 7, grab a quick breakfast, and then head off to work. Shadow this with me. I usually wake up around 7, grab a quick breakfast, and then head off to work. Or instead of saying, I read at night, you might say, in the evenings, I like to unwind with a good book before going to bed. Repeat after me. In the evenings, I like to unwind with a good book before going to bed. Excellent. See how these sentences flow more naturally? That's what makes them advanced. Now let's move into advanced English for polite conversations. Imagine you need to leave a conversation early. In basic English, you might say, I go now. But in advanced English, you could say, I should probably get going now, but it was really nice talking with you. Shadow this. I should probably get going now, but it was really nice talking with you. And if you want to leave even more politely, you could say, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I really enjoyed our conversation. Repeat after me. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I really enjoyed our conversation. These phrases help you sound respectful and friendly at the same time. Now let's practice advanced English for giving feedback. Instead of saying, good, you might say, that was really well done. I could see how much effort you put in. Repeat with me. That was really well done. I could see how much effort you put in. And instead of saying bad, you might say, it could use a little improvement, but but you're definitely on the right track. Shadow this. It could use a little improvement, but you're definitely on the right track. Advanced English often balances positivity and honest. That's what makes it sound supportive and professional. Now let's practice showing hesitation politely. Instead of just saying, "No," you might say, "I'm not so sure about that. I'll need to think it over." Or, "That's an interesting idea, though I'm not completely convinced yet." Repeat after me. "I'm not so sure about that. I'll need to think it over." "That's an interesting idea, though I'm not completely convinced yet." These phrases let you express doubt without sounding rude. Now let's practice advanced English in storytelling again. Instead of saying, "I went to the store," "I bought food," you might say, "I stopped by the store yesterday and picked up some groceries for the week." Shadow this. "I stopped by the store yesterday and picked up some groceries for the week." Or instead of saying, "I saw a friend," you could say, "I happened to run into a friend of mine while I was out, and we caught up for a while." Repeat after me. "I happened to run into a friend of mine while I was out, and we caught up for a while." See how advanced English creates a little story out of simple actions? Now let's practice some longer shadowing lines together. Repeat after me slowly and carefully. "To be honest, I didn't think I'd enjoy it at first, but it turned out to be a great experience." The thing I found most surprising was how easy it became once I got started. Little by little, I've been building confidence, and it feels amazing. Excellent. Long sentences like these really help you practice rhythm and fluency. Now let's focus on advanced expressions for showing encouragement. Instead of just saying, "Good luck," you could say, "I'm sure you'll do great. You've got this." Shadow this. "I'm sure you'll do great. You've got this." Or you might say, "I believe in you. You're more capable than you think." Repeat after me. "I believe in you. You're more capable than you think." Encouraging phrases like these make your English sound uplifting and supportive. Now let's do one more mini dialogue for practice. Imagine I say, "I'm nervous about my presentation tomorrow." In beginner English, you might reply, "Don't worry." But in advanced English, you could say, "I understand how you feel. It's normal to be nervous. Just remember, you've prepared well and you'll do fine." Shadow this. "I understand how you feel. It's normal to be nervous. Just remember, you've prepared well and you'll do fine." See how that feels supportive and natural? That's the difference advanced English makes. Let's now practice advanced English for wrapping up conversations. Instead of saying, "Goodbye," you could say, "It was really nice catching up with you. I'll talk to you soon." Repeat after me. "It was really nice catching up with you. I'll talk to you soon." Or, "I really enjoyed our conversation. Let's do this again sometime." Shadow this. "I really enjoyed our conversation. Let's do this again sometime." Excellent. Now let's look at how advanced English can help you sound more reflective. Instead of saying, "It was good," you might say, "Looking back, I think it was one of the best experiences I've had in a long time." Repeat after me. "Looking back, I think it was one of the best experiences I've had in a long time. Or instead of saying, I learned English, you could say, over time, I've really built up my English skills step by step, and it feels rewarding. Shadow this with me. Over time, I've really built up my English skills step by step, and it feels rewarding. Now let's practice some final advanced shadowing lines together. Repeat slowly after me. At the end of the day, what matters most is that we keep moving forward. The more I practice, the more natural it feels each time. I never thought I'd come this far, but now I know it's possible. Wonderful. As we come to the end of this lesson, I want to remind you that learning advanced English is not about memorizing long words or trying to sound perfect. It's about connection, rhythm, and expressing yourself with confidence. Every time you practice, even for just a few minutes, you are making progress. So be patient with yourself, celebrate the small wins, and keep going. Remember, fluency is built little by little, day by day. And with practice, you'll notice your English sounding more natural, more confident, and more advanced. I want to thank you for spending this time with me today. I'm so proud of the effort you're putting into your English, and I want you to know that you're not alone on this journey. I'm here to guide you, encourage you, and practice with you every step of the way. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future lessons. And most importantly, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and never give up. You've got this. And I'll see you in the next lesson.